Hello, my name is Emily Fotheringham. I am a student at Ball State University, and I live in San Antonio, Texas, where I am a registered behavior technician. I work in a clinic setting with clients that are 2 to 28 years old, focusing on the treatment of problem behavior for those diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. This is my presentation on functional behavior assessments and functional assessments. I hope you enjoy. I conducted a literature review based on functional behavior assessments, or FBAs, and a functional analysis, an FA. The first article that I am reviewing is from Oliver et al. In 2015. It noted that a behavior assessment should be conducted before choosing a function-based treatment for problem behavior. A functional assessment is the only way to determine the functional relation of problem behavior. And when conducting an FBA, indirect assessments are less valid than direct assessments. Whalen et al. 2021 noted that severe problem behavior or problem behavior that interferes with learning warrants a functional behavior assessment. Indirect assessments and direct assessments and functional analyses are the components of a functional behavior assessment. Functional behavior assessments are completed before the treatment of problem behavior. By conducting direct and indirect assessments, practitioners can hypothesize problem behaviors. After conducting a functional analysis, the practitioner implements a function-based intervention. This was from Roscoe, 2015. I'd also like to note that each of these studies noted that an FBA and an FA are often not conducted in practice for reasons like lack of training, lack of reinforcement from prior FBA processes. So maybe the treatment plan didn't work out, or lack of perceived social importance. The Whalen article noted that some behavior analysts might not feel the need to conduct an FBA or an FA to truly know the function of a target behavior. Next is my discussion of behavior assessments. Functional behavior assessments should be conducted as a part of a treatment package for each target behavior. So these are not a one and done or a one size fit all type of assessment. Each time a behavior is targeted for reduction, an FBA should be conducted to ensure that the correct function is being targeted for decrease. A problem behavior is a behavior that impedes on a learner's ability to interact with their environment independently, meaning that it could be disruptive, harmful to the client, harmful to others, something that the family culturally feels is important to decrease. The applied dimension of ABA notes that behavior change should be socially significant. When defining problem behavior, it is important to remember that each culture may define a problem behavior differently. An FBA uses indirect and direct observations to draw hypotheses about problem behaviors. An FBA can also provide which type of FA is best for a client. So by using your indirect measures, which could be parent interviews, teacher interviews, and other indirect assessments, and observing those with your direct assessments, your ABC data, your narrative recordings, you can determine which FA to use. Do you need to use a latency FA? Do you need to use a trial-based? Maybe you're in a school. Is a traditional FA fitting the best? Is a practical functional assessment the best thing? If it is hypothesized that there are multiple maintaining contingencies, maybe an interview-informed synthesized contingency analysis would be best for the client. The beautiful thing about FBA is it helps paint a picture of the problem behavior, and the practitioner can best determine what FA should be used. And finally, an FA is an assessment that determines the function of problem behavior. Without conducting an FA, you cannot be certain of the problem behavior. It is only a hypothesis. So even after conducting your indirect assessment and your direct assessment, it is still just a hypothesized function of behavior until the FA results determine what the function is. At Empower Behavioral Health, where I work, we conduct functional behavior assessments for each behavior for each client. The first thing we do is gain parent consent. This is done before any indirect assessments happen. One, to determine the parents are on board. It also helps parents provide us with a hierarchy of the behaviors they feel are most important to decrease at a specific time, as well as giving the parents a learning opportunity of how exactly ABA works and why conducting these assessments are important. Parent trainings are often added into these as well. Next, we conduct indirect assessments using things like the QABF, the FAST, and the open-ended interview. The open-ended interview is more of a conversation with parents where they kind of give you their take on the problem behavior, how it's occurring at homes, how it's occurring in public, and the behavior analyst uses this to then begin conducting their descriptive data. We conduct descriptive data at my company continuously. So each instance of problem behavior, the therapist records the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence. Then they will also write down narrative ABC data for what was happening. Scatter plots are also used often to help an analyst determine when the behavior is occurring, if it's occurring at a specific time throughout the day. Finally, the behavior analyst will choose the best FA for their client, whether that be a latency and interview informed synthesized contingency analysis, traditional, brief, pairwise. And then based on the descriptive data, the analyst can also program any idiosyncrasies as needed. For example, if the direct ABC data showed that the client, if I hypothesized the client was engaging in problem behavior for negative attention, the analyst could then use negative attention in the attention condition. For example, when the client engages in aggression, the person running the attention condition can say, no, we do not hit, that is bad, and see if that increases problem behavior more than regular attention being given to the client after the occurrence of problem behavior. In conclusion, I feel like my company does a good job of conducting behavior assessments. The process through and through for each behavior takes about a month, and I have been lucky enough to help out on 2 latency FAs, 1 practical functional assessment, and 1 traditional FA. I personally enjoyed the practical functional assessment the best. I got to analyze the data for each of these, and from a visual analysis, the practical functional assessment showed the most differentiated data paths, indicating a stronger conclusion of the hypothesized function. It also seemed to be easier to run in aspects of clinical flexibility. The client remained in a more happy, relaxed, and engaged mood throughout the functional analysis using the PFA, and it was easy as a technician, I personally feel, to implement as well. However, I do think that each FA has its own place in its own time. In the future, I would like to learn more about the practical functional assessment and the interview-informed synthesized contingency analysis so that I can perform them to the best of my abilities and be able to disseminate the science of ABA. My references are as followed from my literature review, and thank you for watching my presentation.